glad that you are all here tonight. I'm so excited to talk to Anne about merinos and the other things that are going on her farm and some other stuff that's special to us. So we're gonna jump right in. So Anne, I would love for you, for the folks who don't know you, introduce yourself and just tell us, like, just give us the little brief overview about your farm, and then
My
we'll jump in.
elevator pitch.
Yeah.
So, hi everybody. I'm Anne, and I'm from Leaf Livestock, and we are located in Northwest Illinois. And my shepherd and I have had sheep for probably 25 years, but I did not get involved in the sheep for the first 18 to 20 because I was so busy raising kids and running kids to events after my day job that I would get home and we would tag team and he would go out and do chores and I would run kids. And so we raise our first sheep breed is was Polypace, and um they're a multi-purpose breed. They're great mothers, so they can have lots of lambs, but they also have, hi Tamara, some pretty cool wool too, which some of you have discovered. Then at one point I said to him, "Oh, those brown sheep are really pretty." So that kind of opened the door for him to start purchasing natural colored brown wool animals. And we have Columbia Rambouillet crosses, and they are huge. Both breeds are huge. Their crosses are huge. We've also dabbled in a couple other breeds throughout he mainly. And then, there was kind of a family crisis or family shift in um, roles. The twins went off to school. We have five boys. The oldest is 31, twins are 26, a 22-year-old and a 16-year-old. And I finally refer to my husband as the shepherd and then our 16-year-old as the supervisor because he's been super helpful and always involved in everything. But then, anyway, about 10 or so years ago, we had a life shift. And at that point, I started becoming more involved in chores, nightly chores, and in all sorts of other livestock responsibilities, whether it be helping transport sheep from, we have sheep on two different farms. My parents' farm is about a mile away, and then ours. And so, at that point, I just started admiring the lovely wool that our sheep were growing. And so that's kind of what motivated me to get more involved in the wool production. And then I know our conversation tonight is merinos because the WAFA breed of the month is merinos. And then well, it was more than 2 years ago because the sheep have been on the farm for 2 years. I was gifted a flock of merinos for Christmas. We have a couple guys that shear for us, one that shears yearly, and then we needed our fall yearlings sheared. And so we just got a local guy, an Illinois guy, to shear. And he said, "Hey, I know you're into selling wool. I have a shearing customer that is looking to disperse his flock." And so I said, "Ooh, merinos, what's the big deal?" And so Gordon, my husband, then approached the fellow, and it took Gordon being interviewed or being, the guy checking us out for about 6 months to decide whether he wanted to sell us the
Huh.
merinos. But so I've been raising, we've had merinos now for a couple years, and um, they're just a really neat breed to raise, and their wool, of course, is fabulous. And before I had merinos, I'm like, what's the big deal? Merinos, whatever, because they have such a hype about them.
Right.
And that hype is partially due to the merino organization and the marketing that they put into their wool breed. Um, but now I know that the hype is legit and the wool is just fabulous. But I also think that the moms are really pretty neat moms.
Oh,
I
okay.
like them too. So that's nice.
So I want to
Yeah.
back
So
up for
that's,
just a second. You said you used the phrase multi-purpose. So for folks who aren't sheep people, tell us what that means. Multi-purpose sheep.
so some sheep are raised primarily to produce offspring and have um, uh, a high growth rate, so they can get so the shepherds can get the sheep up to market weight and push them off to market as quickly as possible.
Those are meat, they're
And then
meat sheep.
again, so those are the meat breeds. And
Okay.
then the polypay breed was designed or developed to be multi-purpose, so they can have many babies, produce um, create an income with the lambs, but also to have a good wool clip and a desirable wool clip that the wool market would be interested in. And the polypay breed is comprised of Rambouillet, Tardy, Finn, and Dorset. So three really excellent wool breeds. And then the Dorset breed is included because of their mothering ability and their larger carcass, their larger frame, so they can add to the good. They're also out of season breeders, and so
What does that
it's
mean?
just like, it's just a good breed if you are, and they're smaller. Polypays are smaller, so um, people like me can handle them, whereas the Rambouillet Columbias are huge.
Right. Like,
Right.
so tell us one, what out of season breeders are, and then two, when you say huge, give us a, like merinos are this,
Okay.
ramblings are this.
So out of season breeding means that typically spring is when we think of lambs bounding through the green pastures. And so a lot of people will lamb, late February because the weather's passed, the bad weather's passed into March or April. But polypays are out of season breeders, which means they can breed in the fall. And we have a high rate of conception in the fall, or in like April, so we can lamb in September or October.
Okay,
Sheep's gestation period is 5 months approximately. And so, the polypay breed also can lamb 3 times in 2 years. So the mothers can recover a lot faster because they're in really good condition when they lamb, and they can then recover faster and then be bred again
got it.
within a time frame. We don't typically do that. We like to give the moms a rest, but that's another benefit of the polypay breed. Now, so in terms of size, the polypays and merinos both are about. I'm 5'4", and they're some of our merinos are smaller, and some of our polypays are larger. So some of the polypays are at my hip, and some of the merinos and polypays, some of them are smaller, are like mid between my knee and my hip. So,
Okay.
you know,
Okay.
150 pounds.
Okay.
And then some of the polypays can range up to like 200 pounds.
Hmm.
Yeah. And then the Rambouillet Columbia crosses, some of the moms' faces are right in my face, and they may weigh as much as 300 pounds. They're huge. Some of
Wow.
our natural and Beverly's here. Beverly is sort of a neighbor. She lives like an hour and a half away, and she comes for our shearing day. And she is on my shearing team, as I call it. And she knows how big they are. Some of the rams need two people to help shear, one person to hold, and then the other person to um, run um, the shears.
Wow.
So huge, huge.
Huge.
Yep, I really agreed. They're huge.
So has the wool always been a part of this?
No, no,
Okay.
and I think that this is a really great story, and I appreciate you asking me this question. So back when I was introducing myself, I said that I um only became more um interested and involved and ingrained in the fabric of the farm about 10 years ago. And it took one shearing day for me to say, oh, this wool is beautiful. And I really think I want to learn to spin. And I think it would be very fun to spin. And my shearer at the time said, this wool is worth nothing. And I went, well, how dare he? This is
What
not
was the wool? Or what was the breed?
the Rambouillet Columbia
Okay.
cross, and it was
Okay.
brown. And at the time, I thought he was just being I thought he was just being rude, but I did not know the wool industry at the time. I didn't understand why the brown wool was worth nothing because to me it was beautiful. And I kind of took that as a challenge to make it worth something. And so, I learned to shear or to spin rather. Natasha from Esther's Place, one of the Wafa vendors, taught me to spin. I went to a class, and I almost didn't go. Oh my gosh, think about how different my life would be if I didn't learn to spin. Um, I it was a Saturday, and that was at the point in my life when it was really hard for me to leave the farm because, the guys were here and we had a little one still, so I was still really young. And so, but anyway, I went to learn to spin on a Saturday, several classes in a row. And then after I learned to spin, I needed to do something with my yarn. And I'll tell you what, people get frustrated when it takes them when learning to spin is hard. It took me about a year before I really felt like I was making decent yarn. But then I needed something to do with it because I don't knit. I didn't go into this a knitter. I went into this as, producing the wool, having the sheep. Um, and so then I learned to weave and then I had my first fleece processed. And um, Jane from Illinois Mill, who is also a Wafa vendor, processed our first fleece, and I chose a brown fleece. Because at the time I really wasn't interested in the polypay fiber. It was just like, nah,
Mhm.
it's white, big deal. So I had her process, and that was about 8 years ago. So I've been doing this, give or take 8 or so years. Um, and so I made so much brown yarn. And then I decided to have, um, we were shearing and I just happened to notice a new mill opening up. And this mill, is located in Lafarge, Wisconsin, which is only about 3 hours from me, 3 to 4. And so, we were going to Wisconsin to pick up Christmas trees anyway, because we have a tree farm. And so I contacted Catherine from Utopia Wool Mill and I said, we're going to be coming through. Can I drop off wool? And I said, it's going to be after hours. Will you meet us there? And she did. And she met us there and we took her bags and bags of wool. And I said, it's not well skirted. Do with it what you can. Please make roving. And we just started with roving to make sure that it was worthy of spinning.
Mhm.
And it was so much fun. I love to spin roving. I am a roving person over comb top. Um, but we have a lot of comb top made too. So, what was the question?
I got distracted too with the story.
Went off on a tangent, didn't I? Oh, I know what it was. Was wool an integral part of our farm operation from the get-go? No, no. It only started when my shearer said this wool is worth nothing. And so I set off to prove him wrong.
So what
You
was
know,
happening with the wool before that?
we just sent it off with our shearer and he came back with a check for us.
Oh, like to a co-op or something like that?
Um, there's a wool mill, a wool and fur mill in Forreston, Illinois, which Tamara, I think you're fairly close. Tamara is from Northern Illinois. And I think that this wool mill is in Forreston, Illinois, and it's called Grunwald. And Grunwald has people contracted to shear and then bring the wool to their mill.
Okay.
and they buy it for not too much. And he was right. That brown wool is worth nothing at the mill because you can't dye it. Nobody wants to buy, well, you can, but nobody wants to buy that brown wool. They want white wool. And this merino wool got a really, even the merino skirtings get a great price from him.
Hmm.
Uh, but the brown skirtings don't, because I don't send any sound fleeces to the mill anymore. I keep everything and I skirt everything and I send everything I can to a mill. And what I really appreciate is that I am able to sell every bit of my wool from year to year,
Yeah.
whether it be in comb top or roving or yarn. I feel good about that. So I kind of proved him wrong. It is worth something, you know?
That's so exciting. I mean, I I think shepherds are in lots of places along their journey as well. And I love that there was that challenge for you. I can just, knowing a little bit about you,
I was
really?
gonna, he made me mad.
Right.
My sheep are more than that. And they are beautiful. They are beautiful. Yeah, Tamara, it's not too far from you. It's in northern Illinois, but the sheep are beautiful. And I love them. I love the merinos. There's some of the natural colored animals that are more special to me than others. There's some of the polypades that are more special to me than others. We have such a big flock that they can't all have names.
Right.
But there are a few in the course of my involvement that have so Catherine, no, that fellow was not shearing for me anymore. He is no longer shearing at all. But we have a shear. I guess I can segue to my shears if we'd like. I have a shear that comes from the Yankee Rock Farm is the name of their business. And Colin from Yankee Rock Farm and Suri came along with him the first 2 years. And they are so busy shearing that they split up shearing, and Colin goes on his Midwest tour, and then Siri stays back east. They're from, I think they have a farm in Connecticut and a farm in Vermont. So they come far, far away,
Oh.
and excellent shears. And matter of fact, I don't know if Colin was just trying to keep my business, but he did say to me, and he shears a lot of polypays because there's a lot of smaller farm polypays out east, and he shears a lot of merinos because there's a lot of merinos in Ohio and out his way. He said that our merinos, some of the is some of the finest fleeces that he's ever sheared, which I
Huh.
think is really good. Yeah,
Huh.
yeah.
So,
Those
so you-
merinos, I'm sorry, go ahead.
go ahead.
The merinos came from a farm, um, I'm not even certain, about an hour and a half away, kind of north central Illinois, and I can't remember the fellow's name. And they are not registered, so I don't totally know their genetics or their heritage, but he had been raising them for years and years, and they had not lambed for a long time.
I remember that.
They were more pets to him.
Mhm.
He fed them bread, um, but he got his original flock. His dad got the original flock from a flock in Colorado. So, and that was years ago. And it was a closed flock, since he hadn't bred them in so long.
So
And then
tell us what that means. What's a closed flock?
flock means that they don't bring in any other genetics. They have their one ram that they use, and they only use that one ram with the ewes. And then of course that ram can't be bred to his offspring. So maybe they would sell the breeding stock, or maybe they would just keep him for fleece. Some people just have fiber flocks.
Right. Yeah. All right. Let's see. There was something else I was going to ask. So you said we have a lot of sheep. What's a lot of sheep?
We have a flock of about 100, give or take. I'm not really sure. And sometimes I'll ask Gordon, what do you think? What do we have? And but really The true number will be told when Colin does his last click on shearing day.
Got it.
Um, we have right around 100,
Okay.
125 probably right now because
In
we
all
have,
of the breeds.
yes,
Okay.
combined, all told. So we have about 20 merinos, about 40 polypays, and about 40 of the natural colored. And we have some Columbia moms too. And they are just part of that natural colored breeding program. We used to run, this was back, Gordon's been very involved in the polypay breed. He used to be on the board of directors, and he was very integral in getting their starter flock group going. And at one point, we had a flock of around 250 ewes. But we are kind of downsizing because, throwing bales for 250 ewes is a challenge.
Yep.
And then we're also using up a lot of our pasture space for a Christmas tree farm. And so it's just kind of a natural time to decrease.
All right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so talk about the merinos. You've had them for a couple of years.
Yes,
Were there, do they have different personalities? Are they, just tell us
they
about
do.
merinos.
Yes. So, I've learned a little bit about them. One of which is it's really hard to keep their wool nice through the year when they live in a barn. And they're far better, they grow better wool when they're out on the range or in a pasture. We do not coat our flock, and so what you get's what you get, and we get some dirty, greasy um, sheep. I have learned, they're quiet. They are patient. I can be throwing a bale to them and they haven't been fed since the day before, and they are patient with me. They are patiently waiting for me to, not the ram. The ram's a different story. But they're just waiting for me to feed them dinner. And they're very pleasant. They're good mothers. But then again, all of our breeds are, they're attentive. Um, one thing that I've learned about them is that their hooves grow really fast. And so I'll be trimming hooves way more often than I like to.
Ah,
Um, they're just a really, they breed later. I was telling you earlier that we used to lamb in January, and we would start hot and heavy January 1 or December, and we would have winter lambs. And we have found that, it just takes them a little bit longer. We had babies in May. I guess we also had babies in October too. So, I'm not so sure if that's what I'm telling you is correct. They breed out of season too. How about that?
okay. Because some breeds really just you breed them in that kind of fall, early winter window, right? That's when they're in season.
Yep. Yeah,
And
and it seems like that's when the merinos are in season, but we don't take the ram out because I don't want him mixing with our really big guys. I
mm,
think he would eat alive. And we do, when we take the rams out, we commingle them in a really tight space, because if you don't,
yeah,
they will head bash until somebody goes down. He'd be
right.
the one to go down because he is so much smaller than the rest of the rams. And
Okay.
he's really never had to defend, he's bigger than the girls, and he's kind of pushing them around, and yeah,
Mm. So he lives with them year round.
he does. And so we because we're limited on space, we just let him stay with them. And I think there's at least one more bred. We've had, we have, oh, I forgot to tell you about my targies. Um, we
Target.
have, targies. We have, let's see, we've had 3 or 4 babies born in the last, I want to say month.
Oh,
So,
you're already
uh,
lambing.
of merinos. And then also, I bought last year I got online bid happy and I bought some targies at an online auction. So we have targi merinos crosses now. We have
Oh,
one targi mom that has two babies. Yeah. And then my last online sale, I sold a lot of this targi merino blend. And it's I have three merinos and three targies, and one of them is a brown targi. And so I just put all their fiber together, and it's wonderful. It's beautiful.
yeah, I
Yeah.
saw it kind of
So
going
I'm pretty,
out the door. So that's
oh,
exciting.
it did. Oh my gosh. Yes. Uh, Tamara bought some, and Catherine bought some, and Margot has some, and Beverly has some. Yeah.
So is this the first target? This was that the first target shear for you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Years ago, Gordon and a friend of his were trying to recreate the Targhee cross. And so we used to raise Targhees way before I was interested in wool. And so they're kind of flighty. They
Okay.
haven't really settled into being adults, you know. They're still teenagers, but the one that's lambed has settled down.
Okay.
But they came to us from the University of Wisconsin Targhee flock.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I kind of related, but not. I'm just curious. Did you grow up on a farm yourself?
I did not. I
You,
did not know. My dad grew up on a farm,
okay.
and he grew up in Ohio, and his parents rented land. They did not own land. And thank you, Tamara. And he went to college and, got a job and saved and saved and saved and saved. And then he bought his own farm one day. And Gordon grew up on a farm, though. He is a farmer through and through. Um, and so, though, it's kind of funny, though. I always pictured myself living on a farm. I enjoyed going home to visit my grandparents. I enjoyed that. I just love to be outside. I love to be outside and I don't mind working hard. And yeah, so no, I did not.
So you said in passing you have a tree farm.
Do. Um, So there is a terrific shortage of Christmas tree farms in the Midwest. And do you guys go cut your own tree, or do you go to a place that has natural trees? Don't tell me you have an artificial tree. Don't tell me if you have one. But anyway, there is a shortage of trees. And about 7 or 8 years ago, Gordon, he's a dreamer. He is a dreamer, and he is so hardworking that he has turned our farmstead into a soon to be Christmas tree farm. And we just got done building a pond on our farm. And we had a huge snow in January, and the ground was not frozen solid yet. So our pond is almost full. So it's just turning into be a really um, beautiful place. But yeah, we started a Christmas tree farm about 8 years ago, and now we plant about 2,000 trees, and we trench them in. Our first year we planted about 500 potted trees just to, get started and see what we could get done in a year.
Right.
And now we have Cy and all of his buddies help, my nephews help, and so I drive the tractor and I try to drive a straight line. I tell you what, though, I'm not very good. And Gordon and Cy, or Gordon and one of the friends, sit on the tree trencher, and they, as fast as they can, get those trees in the ground. Yeah, so we have about 10 acres of trees right now. And we probably are about 3 to 4 years away from opening. Um,
Oh, okay. I was going to ask how long does it take to get to that first, I don't know, is that a harvest?
yeah, it takes about 10 years to go from a trenched in tree to um, being able to harvest at a decent size for a Christmas tree. And the first year we did potted trees. The next year was the year that we went to Wisconsin to get trees and I dropped off all the wool.
Uh-huh.
Uh, That year we did potted trees and trenched in.
Hmm.
And there's so much to learn. Now we mow it. We mow it about twice a year, and in between the mowings, we get a pretty decent amount of weeds or excuse me, prairie grass,
Hmm.
and including all of the milkweed and goldenrod, you know, that beautiful goldenrod that gives you a beautiful color of wool.
Hmm.
And we're fertilizing it now, and Gordon started pruning the trees last
Okay.
year. And so, it's just coming along, and the pond has really added so much so much beauty to it.
That's a huge
We also
investment. 10 years, you
have,
know.
I'm sorry, say that.
I said that's a huge investment, 10 years, to see a return.
It is. It is.
Well,
And it's a lot of work and it's hard work. And he is not happy unless he falls into bed exhausted from a day's physical labor. I just try to
um,
keep up with him. I just try.
right. Don't
Oh
you
yeah.
work two jobs off the farm?
Well, I have a day job. I'm a school teacher. I teach students with disabilities.
Right.
Yes. So that's a day job.
And
And then I also teach jazzercise. And
right.
I teaching jazzercise, I've been teaching for 30 years and I think, when am I going to be done with this? But I also know that the physical condition that I need to be in to be able to keep up with him, I better keep exercising.
And
Yeah.
those big sheep.
And the sheep. Right. Because you know what? I think I have a good thing going here. I want to be able to keep up with this. And
Right.
there's going to be a day when, we'll have to downsize some more. But, you know, until then, I've got a lot of really pretty wool that I can work with and have available for everybody else to enjoy.
So you
Yeah.
said you send some to the mill. About how much do you send to the mill?
A couple 100 pounds.
Okay. And
Yeah.
then you keep a chunk of that as well to hand
Yep. Yeah.
process?
I love to have a moment to spin, and I like to use my homespun in weaving, and I also like to use I also have mill spun yarn made. I just, I like to be able to diversify what I have the mills create. So I use Zeilinger for comb top. I use Utopia for yarn. Actually, Utopia, I contacted her yesterday and I said, um, when are you going to be done? And she said she would start spinning it this week. So I will have some yarn made soon. I have another mill in South Central Minnesota that creates, she's really fun and clever and likes to throw in, um, she likes to mix in sari silk. And so I had that confetti yarn for a while. That sold like
Yeah.
fast. And then I'm still working off of a huge order um, of Columbia Merino. It was a really short staple. They were sheared at like 6 months just so we could get them all on the same shearing schedule. And so she made some Columbia Merino with sari silk blended in, and that was really pretty too. I'm still enjoying including that in bats that I make. Because I like the silk add-in. I really love that.
Right.
And she also made some rug yarn for us. And when I do my WAFA sales, that's the last item that I get out to sell. And
Right.
so I still have a lot of that left. I need to just start making rugs
Yeah.
because it's nice. They're
Yeah.
nice rugs. I have one that I take to my in-person sales, and it's probably a trip hazard, but I have it there just, for a sample of what you can make with my rug yarn.
Right.
Yeah.
Huh. That's a lot going on.
It is a lot going on, but we only have one guy left at home. Um, and you know, he's patient with me and he is pretty self-sufficient. And if I don't cook tonight because I'm getting ready, tagging wool or making bats for a show, he's like, I can feed myself. It's no big deal. Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah,
do you sell fiber at every step? Like, do you sell fleece?
I do. I
Okay.
do. But here's the thing. We don't coat and our sheep wool is dirty.
Okay.
And so I'm kind of selective as to who I sell to
Yeah.
because I want them to know our story because if you bought our raw fleece, you might look at it and go, ew, because it's dirty. Beverly can attest to that. And, some of it's not sound. So I will sell raw wool, but I really want the person to know what they're getting. And
Yeah.
so, and somebody contacted me recently and said, will you take returns? And I said, well, sure. But I want you to know what you're buying. And I want you to know that I've skirted this as well as I would skirt a fleece I'm sending to a mill. It's mill ready. And I said, but instead of buying from me, why don't you come to shearing day and you
Mm.
can see our operation and take a fleece home. We're always so I have this kind of started off um as an oh my gosh, I need help. And so I just put out on my socials, I could use some help shearing. Anybody who wants to try and you're, close enough to drive, um, please come and be ready to get dirty. And I just need you to be able to bend down and pick up and bag
Right?
and tag um and so one year I had a couple people offer and my brother works remotely. He doesn't anymore, but he always comes out and sticks his head in and says, "Hey, can you use some help?" And I'll say, "Sure, yeah." But then one year I saw that Beverly, who's watching today, was she bought some wool from us, some yarn, and sent me a picture of what she created. And I noticed that she was from Eureka, and I know how close Eureka is, and so I invited her to come. And then there was a WAFA friend who had bought some fiber from me, and she said, "Hey, I'm friends with your friend, and I help on her shearing day. Can I come to shearing day?" Yeah, of course. We need more hands. And then there's another gal from Bettendorf who bought yarn from me at my first in-person sale, and she answered the all call for help on shearing day. And so shearing day has kind of become like a small reunion among friends.
Uh,
Um, Like-minded people, people who love wool, um, people who want to stay connected to this really cool group of women who, and you know what? I say come help as long as you can and pick out a fleece and hopefully you can use it. And so that's what we do.
oh,
Um, and
that's unity.
I value the help that I get. I feel like, we've become friends. Shearing Day's the best. Beverly's like my number one helper. She's the first one there and she's the last one to leave. And I tell these ladies every year, I hope you understand how much I appreciate your help. And I think they do. I think they know that I can't do it alone. And they 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 take it personally. They take this experience very seriously. And I think that Beverly has named a ewe on our farm, and Beverly has both of her fleeces, her lamb fleece and her first adult shearing fleece, and she's turning it into roving, and she's going to spin it, make a sweater. It's going to be beautiful, So um, I feel like the wool, you know, it's connected me to so many great people, like you, for instance, ma'am, and you, Catherine, and Margot is making a sweater out of our yarn that I dyed for her. And I'm so grateful for the people that appreciate our yarn or our wool as much as I do, you know? That's really rewarding.
Yeah.
It really,
It's so personal, you
yes,
know, it
it
really
is.
is.
Yeah.
I miss that. I miss shearing day. I mean, it's a lot of work shearing day and we don't have, nearly as many, well, we don't have any sheep right now, but I miss that. And we're going on our first farm field trip tomorrow.
I saw you're gonna go look at some
We're
Shetlands.
gonna Finns tomorrow.
Fins. I'm sorry,
Yep,
fins. Good.
Finns tomorrow. And then I'm setting up, there's actually another Finn breeder I think I'm gonna go see, and then Shetlands and maybe Jacobs. But I can hardly wait because partly I want to offer, if I don't think they've sheared already, but to be a part of that. I think that will tell me a lot about the flock that I won't get in, an hour tomorrow. And I love to be the part of that. And I'm missing having that be a part of my farm. So I'm excited
Yes.
next
Yeah.
year.
And what I love about shearing day, it's a day that I dread because it is so much work.
Yes.
So much work. But I love it because it's just a whole new season. Um I have another person that I invited to shearing last year was a young lady that I taught to spin. She approached me one day and she said, "Will you teach me?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm not a spinning teacher, but we can work together. We can work together and I have enough wheels and you can borrow one of my wheels and until you decide whether you want to do this or not." And so she came to shearing day last year and she had so much fun. And I told her, I said, um, surround yourself with women like this, with people like this who are happy to see you, who want to share their story, who want to share their project. And she had a great time. And I need to get a hold of her and let her know when it is. She's very busy. She's size age and she's involved in fine arts. And I know that that will be a play rehearsal day. And so, maybe she won't be able to come, but maybe she will. And, we'll have another great day.
Well, and
But
it's so exciting to have we need young people to be a part of this intergenerational part of it. We do.
most definitely. And she's just really eager to learn. And I appreciate that. We sat and spun and she's like, "Now what do I do with this?" And I said, "Well, now we ply." And so, yeah, she bought her first wheel. Matter of fact, she bought one of my wheels. I had I had a Shack ladybug, and I really very much after using this ladybug, I wanted the happy birthday version. I wanted one of the cherries with the black wheel.
Yeah.
So I went and got one and yeah, yeah.
All right, so
So
we're gonna change tack just a little bit here. I want you to tell us all of the places that we can find you, social media, festivals, all of that.
well, believe it or not, I have a YouTube channel which I never post on. It's just Leaf Livestock. And I have an Instagram and it's Leaf Livestock Wool Co. And I share on that a whole lot more than I share on Facebook. But our Facebook is Leaf Livestock.
Okay.
We have a website, leaflivestock.com. And those are places you can find me online. But I've started to do some in-person shows. I still love the WAFA atmosphere. Um, I post more on WAFA than I do on my own Leaf Livestock page. Um, but anyway, I am going to be at the Western Illinois. Oh, Danielle's on. Hi, Danielle. Danielle has polypace too. At the Western Illinois Fiber Festival this upcoming weekend in Macomb, Illinois. And then the following weekend is the Illinois Fiber Festival. And Cindy, another gal that I met through WAFA, and then I met her at in-person shows. She is she's a fast and furious, go, go, go kind of gal. And so she's kind of spearheading this, and I am supporting her however I can. So our inaugural Illinois Fiber Fest, and Tamara is signed up to take a class at that, I believe, um, is coming in 2 weekends. And Beverly's vending at that. And so we have classes and we have like 16 vendors, and there's some WAFA vendors that will be there. Penny Swearington will be there, and Erica from Arabo Arts will be a vendor. And Cindy and I are going to share a booth because, we're going to be busy doing Fiber Fest
Hosting.
things,
Yep.
making our rounds, delivering water bottles, checking
Yep.
to make sure we don't need a bathroom break. Um, but yes, that is coming up. And I am teaching I also teach weaving, and I used to teach yarn dyeing, acid dyeing classes, and I haven't done that for a long, long time. But so one year I met Teddy through like a smaller, more intimate WAFA group, and we were talking about fiber festivals. And Tammy,
Jordan.
Tammy, what's her last name? Doherty?
Jordan. Uh-huh.
She was talking about how she taught at Copper K in Whitehall, Montana. And I said, "Oh, that's my dream. That's my dream fest." And she said, "You should apply. You should apply." And I said, "Someday I will." And it just so happens that this is the year. So Teddy and Teddy has a fiber event called Front Range Fiber Arts Bash, FAB for short. And I took my two young sons to Colorado 2 summers ago, and they were tourists, and they traveled the country, or they traveled the state, and I taught classes at Teddy's fiber retreat, and that was super fun. And so this year I decided that I would apply to Copper K to teach weaving. And so my class was accepted. So I'm teaching and vending there. And then Cy, the youngest, and I will swing down and spend the weekend doing fab, front
Yep.
range fiber,
Yep.
teaching weaving and maybe some yarn dyeing. So that's where you can find me. Yeah.
Um,
Or you can find me in Northwest Illinois on Shearing Day, which is the first weekend in April.
Oh,
In a
wonderful.
nutshell,
I can hardly wait to see you this summer in person.
so much fun. It really is. It's just a really neat weekend of, like-minded people who enjoy spinning and weaving and dyeing, and um it's just a fun getaway. I really enjoy it.
Well, and it's not very big, it won't ever be very big. We're not a huge venue. But
And,
that's perfect. It's very intimate. Yeah.
and I had three people in one weaving class. I had Catherine in my other weaving class, and that was just fine. It was just fine to have a one-person class, and I'm happy to do that again this summer. So because I'll be there. In I'll be in the Western states this summer.
Right. All
Yeah.
right. So we have a few minutes left. I would love to open up for questions. So if anybody's got questions, I've been trying to keep an eye on the chat. Um, but if you got something, now's the time. Unmute and go for it.
And
Yay.
are any of your kids interested in taking over the farm?
No, not right now. I do have one son, and he is pretty rugged. Matter of fact, he used that word rugged to describe himself. Um, and I don't know what other people deem as rugged, but he's just an outdoorsy kind of guy. He hunts and he fishes. He is a golf course assistant superintendent. Um, and he said, people ask me if I'm ever going to move home. He lives in Rochester, Minnesota. He's the assistant superintendent at their country club. I mean, he said, people always ask me, am I going to move home? And I said, well, if you do, maybe you can farm this ground. And he said, I don't know the first thing about farming. We raised our guys to do what they wanted to do. They did not have to, um, do chores if they didn't want to do chores. And that's how Gordon was raised. His dad let him help with chores if he wanted to, but he wasn't expected to. You know, he was raised to, um, if you love it, do it. And so our guys took music lessons, they played sports, they did everything. You know, they did help with sheep, showing sheep at the fair. If I needed help with chores, they'd help. Um, but really none of them have grabbed that bug yet. None of them have caught that bug. And so I just don't know. You never say never though, because Eric said, um, you know, maybe he would move home. And if he does, cool. And if he doesn't, then, you know, I love that he's found a life for him far away. So, and then there's Will, the politician. I don't expect Will to ever move home. That's important to him. So, nope, I don't know. Maybe they'll move home and help with food.
Right. Anyone else?
Yes, absolutely. And yay. Welcome. Welcome. I'm waiting for my Merino Targhee to still arrive. Pony Express is going a little on the slow side, but hey, you know what? It's getting closer. So it should be here within the next few days.
I try to follow up with packages, you know, like a week after I ship them, just to make sure that they've been delivered. I looked today, but I didn't notice that it wasn't delivered. I'll check.
Yeah. So no, it's okay. I've got it. I'm tracking it. Once it arrives, I'll reach out to you. The yarn that you dyed, absolutely love it. I was reorganizing my fiber collection this last weekend, and it's like, oh, this got to go in the bag. This goes in the bag. It's getting ready to be wound up, to be knitted on that. I have a question. You mentioned colored natural colors. So why is white not considered a natural color?
I'm not sure. I don't know. In market lambs, they, I don't know. I'm just not sure about that. One would think, and I think so there's a natural colored, and maybe Danielle can help with this. There's a natural colored organization. It's not a breed. You can show, or, you know, because there's a whole nother culture out there of sheep shows and people who primp their sheep, train their sheep to walk well, and then they walk them in a circle. And then the judge judges them based on wool and body characteristics. And so when I say natural colored, I think I'm speaking more to the that organization, you know, the brown and tan and gray, um, those being natural colors. You have to have a certain percentage of colored wool to be able to be considered um, an animal that can be shown in those shows. You know,
Okay.
so I don't, white wouldn't be a natural color. The mills that purchase wool are more interested in white wool because it can be dyed easier. Now, Margot asked me to dye sweater quantity of brown yarn, and she asked me to over dye it with green. And the color that you get when you over dye brown,
Gorgeous.
is just beautiful. It's just beautiful. I love it. And
You,
no more cones of that yarn. And I'm looking at it thinking, okay, maybe I need to finish that blanket that I started weaving. Yeah.
well, one of the biggest reason I got that, well, first off, your wool is phenomenal. Okay. I mean, you know, I knitted the mitts for you when you sent that. It was great. I've gotten fiber from you before. But my husband is really funny about a sweater. It's got to be rugged. Okay. So don't give him a merino sweater because it's not rugged. All right. It's got to be, it's got to be something he can throw on and he can go out and work in, and he's not afraid to wear. And I had finished Columbia a Columbia Ramblay sweater, and it was like, okay, so that'll work. Or it was a Rommeldale or something like that. Anyways, it was a Columbia Rommeldale and it's with the mix. And it's like, you know what? Anne has Columbia CBM or whatever. She's got those, big old sheep.
Yep,
It's
big
like,
one. Well, and I
and
agree that yarn will not pill. And so when people are looking at my yarn at a sale, I'll ask them, what do you have in mind for it? Because if you want to make mittens with this merino, I would not. But if you want to make mittens with this Rambouillet Columbia cross, I say yes. It's really
Yeah.
good for that. And every wool has its purpose. Even wool skirtings have their purpose. And I sent wool skirtings for rug yarn. The gal's like, so what if there's VM in it? It's just going to go under our feet. It's just going to go in rug yarn. And now a lot of people are making wool pellets where, they can't sell their wool to the mill at a decent rate. And so they're buying pellet machines and they're making wool pellets for gardens to regenerate the soil. So I think it's fabulous. Every wool has its purpose.
absolutely. Well, thank you, Anne. It's been wonderful. I'm so glad that you were on. And thank you, Teddy, so much for doing this. I look forward to this every Tuesday without fail.
And I appreciate that you love my wool as much as I do.
Absolutely. If I were closer, I would be volunteering for that shearing. But you know what? It's a long drive for me. It's a long drive.
It is a long drive. We're gonna have to get shearing team shirts or something, sweatshirt.
Honorary shearing team. All
That's
right.
right.
Any other questions for Anne?
Well, I had some talking points, and I think I got through all of them.
I was going to ask.
When I to talk about something I appreciate and I just adore, I could talk all day. And I don't have this opportunity at work because people are like, they don't get it. I don't even bring it up.
Who doesn't want to talk about your passions,
Right. Right. Yeah.
All
Well,
right.
I thank all of you for coming. And if you have any questions that you think of later, certainly connect with me, whether it's Instagram or Facebook or email, Leaf Livestock Woolco at Gmail. Yeah, just let me know if you have any questions. Now, Tammy, I don't recognize your name. Where are you from? And if you don't want to tell me,
Oh,
you
sorry,
can.
sorry. This is my very first Zoom meeting ever.
That's exciting.
It is. And I'm like, how do these people get their pictures on there? I was going to ask my husband this. I am in Western Washington in a town called Bonnie Lake,
Okay. Well, thank you for joining. Thank you.
Washington State.
Yes.
It's like, yes. Thank you for all your information.
Oh, you're welcome.
All right. Thanks so much, everyone, for being here this evening. I really appreciate it. I'll be back next week.
Good for us.
So I'll be back next week, and I think I have 4 Fiberside chats that I'm working on. So there'll be a bunch that will hit YouTube in the next few days. All right. Thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful
I share
evening.
this to my YouTube channel too.
What?
I share this to my YouTube channel too. I'll just grab your link, put it up there.
Absolutely. All right.
Well,
Thanks.
thanks everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Anne.
Thank you.